Okay, review. Here we go. We are in 1 Samuel, if you're new. It's a narrative. It's in the Old Testament. I'm just going to read chapter 8 for time's sake. Here we go. So the people of Israel have just demanded from the prophet Samuel a king. Give us a king. Okay? When they said, give us a king to judge us, verse 6, Samuel considered their demand to be wrong, so he prayed to the Lord. But the Lord Yahweh told him, listen to the people and everything they say to you. They have not rejected you. They have rejected me as their king. They're doing the same thing to you that they have done since the day I brought them out of Egypt until this day, abandoning me and worshiping other gods. Listen to them, but solemnly warn them and tell them about the customary rights of the king who will reign over them. Then Samuel goes through all the rights of the king, right? Verse 19. The people refused to listen to Samuel. No, they said. We must have a king over us. Then we'll be like all the other nations. Our king will judge us. Our king will go out before us, and our king will fight our battles. Samuel listened to all the people's words and then repeated them to the Lord. Listen to them, the Lord told Samuel. Appoint a king for them. Do what they ask. There you have it. The end of chapter 8. That's where we're at. A king is coming, right? It's a setup. A king is coming. The people's king, right? The people's choice of a king. So what kind of king is this going to be? Let's find out. Verse 1, chapter 9. There was a man of Benjamin whose name was Kish, the son of Abiel, son of Zeror, son of Becherath. I don't know how to say these names. Son of Aphiah, a Benjaminite, a man of wealth. And he had a son whose name was Saul, a handsome young man. There was not a man among the people of Israel more handsome than he. From his shoulders upward, he was taller than any of the people. Now, the name Saul sounds like one asked for. Interesting. You'll notice here and throughout this whole thing, nothing beyond Saul's like physical traits is ever mentioned, right? He's tall, he's handsome. Not like, oh, and his heart was like for the Lord, or, the Lord was with him, or, he was honest, or he was humble, or he would like nothing. Just he's tall and he's handsome, right? By the way, tallness in 1 Samuel, not usually good, okay? Goliath's like the tallest dude in 1 Samuel. In 1 Samuel, I don't know, it's just like tallness is like, it's equated with pride. It's a theme, we'll notice. And 2 Samuel, actually. But the idea here is that this is the kind of king that Israel wants. That's what we're waiting for, and that's who we're going to learn about, okay? It's just, he's impressive. He's an impressive, handsome guy. Isn't this kind of the way that we sort of think too, right? Isn't this what we want? Especially with all the social media stuff. It's like, oh, he's so handsome. Oh, she's so beautiful. Oh, their house. Oh, he's got a great job. I wish I had a job. Like, oh, their kids. Man, I wish my kids would obey like that. They just have it all together. We can't help but see things and kind of like want things like the world wants, right? We're just being inundated with it all the time. It's a constant fight to not see like that and judge like that and want like that. Am I alone in that? Like, that's rough out there. But God doesn't care about that stuff. Not that if you're handsome, like or tall, or like there's something wrong with you. I mean, just because I'm good looking doesn't mean, God's mad at me. All right, somebody's listening. Okay. He doesn't care about that stuff. Have y'all seen Aladdin? It is not what is outside. It's what is inside that counts. He is interested in our heart, in our character, obedience, worship, proven character, right? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Those are the fruit of the Spirit, by the way. That's what he's after. His qualities that he esteems put in us, that's what he cares about. That's what he loves. Verse 3. Now the donkeys of Kish, random, here we go. New plot line. The donkeys of Kish, Saul's dad, were lost. So Kish said to Saul, his son, take one of the young men, one of the servants, with you, and arise, go and look for the donkeys. And Saul, passed through the hill country of Ephraim and passed through the land of Shalishah, but they did not find him. And they passed through the land of Sha'alim, but they were not there. Then they passed through the land of Benjamin, but they did not find them. When they came to the land of Zuph, Saul said to his servant who was with him, come, let's go back, lest my father cease to care about the donkeys and become anxious about us. But the servant said to him, wait, behold, there's a man of God in this city. He's a man who's held in honor, and all that he says comes true. So now let us go there. Perhaps he can tell us the way we should go. So, what is being revealed about Saul's character here, okay? This whole section is going to be just a development, a revealing of Saul's character inside, right? It seems like he kind of is a quitter. Like he gives up like real easily here. Hey man, my dad's going to be worried about us. Like, let's go home, you know? Like, or maybe he's lazy, right? In a second, we're going to find out he ran out of food. Maybe he just ate everything and he's like, dude, I'm going to be hungry. Like, let's go home. It's the servant that exhibits endurance, right? Stamina, perseverance, that can do. We can do it, man, you know? The servant's the one who has to encourage Saul. Like, dude, there's a man of God. I'm pretty sure there's a man of God in this city. We should just go ask him. Let's not go home just yet. Let's not give up yet, right? It's interesting, too, that Saul's, utmost concern is not obeying his dad, right? Accomplishing the mission for which he was sent by his father. The servant is concerned with doing what his master said, but Saul is not concerned with doing what his dad asked him to do. It's juxtaposition. These are the tools that these writers had. They don't have Netflix. They don't have cameras and storyboards. They're using the tools at hand to tell a story and express the things that God wants us to take away, right? Instruction would be the word in Hebrew. He wants to teach us stuff. And so these are the tools that he has. He takes two characters, walks you through a story, compares them, contrasts them, and then we pull out the truth. Do you see that? It's cool. That's what they had. Yeah. By the way, the original readers, they would have known land of Zuph. They're talking about Samuel, right? Which is why this guy knew that Samuel was there, that was a prophet there. The very first verse in Samuel says that Samuel's descendant is a guy named Zuph, okay? I'll skip all that. Here we go. Verse 7, then Saul said to his servant, but if we go, what can we bring the man? For the bread in our sacks is gone, and there's no present to bring to the man of God. What do we have? Excuse. Interesting. Another excuse. This may also be here to communicate that Saul is just kind of ignorant about the ways of God. He assumes that this seer or this prophet or this man of God is like the other prophets around them, right? Remember, they're in Philistine-occupied land, okay? There's Philistine forts, and they're seeing Philistines all the time, you know? It's kind of like that's what it is, you know? It's like when the Jews were under Roman occupation in the time of Christ. Like, there were Romans everywhere. Like, it was a reminder, hey, defeated. This is not our land. Does that make sense? And so he would have probably compared, he would have thought, because he's ignorant and because he has no honor for God, apparently at this point, he compares Samuel like Samuel's going to need some money to tell him what God has for him. Like Samuel's going to tell him what God tells him to tell Saul when he tells him to say it. Samuel doesn't roll like that. He is a prophet of the one true God. Does that make sense? He doesn't take payments. Verse 8. The servant answered Saul again, "Here, I have a quarter of a shekel of silver, and I will give it to the man of God to tell us our way. Formerly in Israel, when a man went to inquire of God, he said, 'Come, let us go to the seer,' for today's prophet was formerly called a seer. And Saul said to his servant, 'Well said, okay, come, let's do it.' 'Oh, you got money? Okay, let's do it, let's go.' So they went to the city where the man of God was. Saul is hesitant, right? Again. The servant takes the initiative. Saul doubts. The servant is hopeful, optimistic. We can do it. Come on, dude. I'll spend my own money. Come on. Let's accomplish the task that we were asked to do by my master. Saul is a quitter. Juxtaposition. Another example of the servant, he has greater character than Saul. And it also develops the plot, as we'll see. And this whole thing at the end about the man of God and the seer and the prophet, they're just using these words to get to prophet so that we know this is Samuel. Does that make sense? As they went up the hill to the city, verse 11, they met young women coming out to draw water and said to them, 'Is the seer here?' They, the women, answered, 'He is, behold. He's just ahead of you. Hurry. He has come just now to the city.'" Dude, he just passed us, right? "Because the people have a sacrifice today on the high place. As soon as you enter the city, you'll find him before he goes up to the high place to eat. For the people will not eat until he comes, since he must bless the sacrifice first. And then afterwards, those who are invited, those who are there already, they can eat then. Now go up, for you will meet him immediately.' So they, Saul and the servant, went up to the city. And as they were entering the city, they saw Samuel, who's now named. They saw Samuel coming out toward them on his way up to the high place. Now it's confirmed. The man of God, the seer, the prophet, it's Samuel, right? How is Saul going to respond to meeting him? Now the day before Saul came, the Lord had revealed to Samuel. Wait, whoa, what? What just happened? Pause. Leave it up on the screen. Verse 15. The narrator just did a flashback. If we were watching Netflix, it would have done a whole scene change. Maybe the lighting in the background, the setting, the room, something would have changed, and you would have been like, whoa, what's going on now? What just happened? I just saw that guy on a road, and now he's on a couch, The narrator is taking us back to the day before and telling us, giving us the information that Samuel has in his mind as he approaches Saul. Let's read. Now the day before Saul came, the Lord had revealed to Samuel, "Tomorrow about this time I will send to you a man from the land of Benjamin, and you shall anoint him to be prince or leader over my people Israel. He shall save my people from the hand of the Philistines, for I have seen my people because their cry has come to me." Nice. Now we know what Samuel's thinking, okay? And we realize that this journey that Saul's been on, it's not about lost donkeys. He's been walking around for days. Has nothing to do with donkeys. Have you ever experienced this in your life? Our circumstances, the immediacy of the worry or the weight or the dreams we have or the issues, or it is very rarely only God he's big, y'all. He's so powerful. He's so high above. But he's also so near. We can't even imagine how much he is working in every single one of our lives. He doesn't miss a moment of yours. He doesn't miss one of your thoughts or words. He is working and moving in us and around us, through us, in all of this stuff that's going on in our life. It seems mundane and we're just going through the motions, but he is in it, y'all. So, we don't want to miss this part, okay? What does the Lord Yahweh say that Saul's purpose is as king? Okay, let's not miss it. He shall save my people from the hand of the Philistines. That's his purpose as king, okay? And remember, Philistines are the bad guys, the ultimate bad guys in 1 Samuel. Here we go. When Samuel saw Saul, the Lord told him, here's the man of whom I spoke to you yesterday in your flashback, right? It wasn't a flashback for him, but you know what I'm saying. I don't think Samuel had flashbacks. He it is who shall restrain or govern my people, right? So Samuel sees Saul walking towards him. God's like, hey, that's the guy. That's the guy I was telling you about. He's the king. He's the future king, right? He's the one who shall restrain my people. Now, normally the word malak, I don't know how to say these words. The normal word for ruling or reigning like a king does is not the word that's used here. It's a different word. And that's why I picked the ESV for this one, because it literally means to restrain, to hold back, or hinder. He's going to restrain my people. It's just interesting. Verse 18. Then Saul approached Samuel. So Saul is walking up, right? He doesn't know that Samuel is thinking any of this. He approached Samuel in the gate and said, tell me, where's the house of the seer? I'm laughing. You're not laughing yet, but let me explain. This is not a good sign for Saul, okay? He doesn't recognize Samuel. He doesn't expect Samuel. He's just, I don't know if he's all there, guys, for real. He's just oblivious, aloof, dumb, not paying attention. I don't know, man. It's not good for Saul. So let's go back pre-flashback, right, to when the young women met them, and you're going to see what I'm talking about, okay? Verse 11. As they went up the hill to the city, they met young women coming out to draw water and said to them, is the seer here? The women answered, he is, behold, he's just ahead of you. He's just ahead of you. He just passed us. Hurry, he's come just now to the city, because the people have a sacrifice today in the high place, far from the city, not there. Samuel might be the only dude that's in town, because the people have a sacrifice on the high places. As soon as you enter the city, you're going to find him before he goes up to the high place. Now go up, for you will meet him immediately. Who should Saul expect to be the first person that he meets? For real. I'm just saying, I'm just reading it. We miss it because we it's the Bible and it's foreign. It's like reading French sometimes. But this is what's happening. The dude should know that this is about to be Samuel. And he's like, let's see. What does he say? Is the seer here? Where's the seer's house? Guys, I don't know, man. It's just, he doesn't listen. He doesn't listen. He doesn't listen. It's a recurring theme for Saul. It only gets worse. Samuel answered Saul, I'm the seer, dude. I'm the seer. Go up before me to the high place, for today you shall eat with me, and in the morning I will let you go, and I will tell you all that is on your mind. Whoa, your mind. By the way, as for your donkeys, in case you doubt I'm a prophet of the one true God, your donkeys were lost 3 days ago. Don't worry about it. They've been found. They've been found. Boom. Instant cred. And for whom is all that is desirable in Israel? Is it not for you and for your father's house? So Samuel is indeed a true prophet, right? Also, Samuel knew his name, that he was coming, right? Then Samuel drops the bomb. For whom is all that is desirable in Israel? Is it not for you and for your father's house? Revealing that Saul is just the type of king that Israel desires. Interesting, the desire, the Hebrew word here, it's the same root verb as to covet. You're the king that Israel desires. Is coveting in the Bible usually like positive or negative? Yes. These are just little like Hebrew nuggets that you get if you're like reading it originally. You would, wow, that's weird. Why do you use that word? Like, it makes you, it's revealing things about Saul and this story. Saul answered, wait. Am I not a Benjaminite from the least of the tribes of Israel? And is not my clan the humblest of all the clans of the tribe of Benjamin? Why then have you spoken to me in this way? He argues with him. He protests. The dude is a prophet of Yahweh. Just proved it a couple times. No fear. Saul has no honor, awe, reverence for this man and what he's just said. You are the king of Israel. No. That can't be right. He argues with the guy. He doesn't listen. Then Samuel doesn't even respond with words, but he just, with actions. 22, we're going to watch Saul's status kind of change. Samuel is going to honor him. Then Samuel took Saul and his young man and brought them into the hall and gave them a place at the head of those who had been invited, who were about 30 persons. And Samuel said to the cook, bring the portion I gave you, of which I said to you, hey, put that aside. So the cook took up the leg and what was on it and set them before Saul. And Samuel said, see, what was kept is now set before you. Eat, because it was kept for you until the appointed hour, that you might eat with those who have been invited. So Saul ate with Samuel that day. And when they came down from the high place into the city, a bed was spread for Saul on the roof. By the way, that's a good thing back then, okay? The roof was primo. And Samuel made a bed for him. It's really hot down there, right? Like up on the roof, under the stars, it's the best place to sleep, okay? His status is like being elevated. Then at the break of dawn, Samuel called to Saul up on the roof, up, that I may send you on your way. So Saul arose, and both he and Samuel went out into the street, right? Here we go. We're gonna travel. As they were going down to the outskirts of the city, Samuel said to Saul, tell your servant to pass on before us. Like, tell him to go ahead. When he's passed on, stop here for yourself for a while, so that I may tell you the word of the Lord. Saul has only expressed hesitation up to this point, right? Only doubt. Only I want to quit. Only let's go back. Only making excuses, right? We're learning about his character. The servant's the one who took the initiative in the beginning twice, right? Then Samuel's having to like move this thing forward. He's like having to do the things, elevating the status, do it, come eat with me, like come, here we go. Do this. We're going to have a conversation. Saul argues with him when he tells him that he's king. Golly, that's some courage, stupidity. I don't know what that is. Something's off with Saul, okay? But like we can see, bird's eye, these are characters, but like God is the one that's kind of doing all of this. You see that? Samuel took the flask of oil. So, right, he took the servants ahead of them, and he stops. I'm going to give you the word of the Lord. Samuel took the flask of oil, poured it out on Saul's head, kissed him, and said, "Hasn't the Lord anointed you as ruler over his inheritance?" Samuel here uses a flask of oil. Just a note. Normally, historically, biblically, when royalty is anointed, a horn of oil is used. These are little things where you're like, like when David gets anointed, it's a horn. We'll see that. But there's these words that pop up in narrative, Old Testament narrative, over and over again. And it's interesting, just could be a sign of, things to come. He took the flask of oil, he poured it out, and said, "Hasn't the Lord anointed you ruler over his inheritance?" You'll notice that there's a focus, there's a mention, obvious mention that Saul is subordinate to Yahweh, the Lord. Yahweh's still in charge. Yahweh's still anointing. Yahweh's still working all this out. He's the one that's granting Israel's request for a king. Obviously, Saul's like arguing about being the king, right? But the people of Israel, they still belong to the Lord. They are his inheritance. I'll just read you the Septuagint real fast. "And you will reign over the Lord's people, and you will save them from the hand of their enemies all around," right? Philistines. "And this is the sign to you that the Lord has anointed you ruler over his inheritance." Here's the sign, okay? 3 signs. "Today when you leave me, you'll find 2 men at Rachel's grave at Zelzah in the territory of Benjamin. They'll say to you, 'The donkeys you went looking for have been found. And now your father has stopped being concerned about the donkeys and is worried about you, asking, "What should I do about my son?" You will proceed from there until you come to the oak of Tabor. 3 men going up to God at Bethel. You will meet there. One bringing 3 goats, one bringing 3 loaves of bread, and one bringing a clay jar of wine. They will ask you how you are and give you 2 loaves of bread, which you will accept from them." Second sign, right? By the way, these guys, they're going to worship. They worship God. They're God worshipers. They're going to Bethel, okay? That's a legit place of worship, right? They're again validating Saul's. They recognize the anointing and the call and the status elevation that Saul is going through. Does that make sense? They're like, "Dude, we're gonna honor you and hook you up." Even they see, because they worship God. They're paying attention. "After that, you will come to Gibeah of God, where there are Philistine garrisons. And when you arrive at the city, you will meet a group of prophets coming down." Third sign, "From the high place prophesying. They will be preceded by harps, tambourines, flutes, and lyres. The Spirit of the Lord will come powerfully on you, Saul, and you will prophesy with them, and you will be changed, transformed." So Saul has a new status, he has a new anointing, he has a new calling, and now he's going to get kind of like a new heart, new behavior for a second. Well, you'll see. By the power of the Spirit of Yahweh, by the way. 7, "When these signs have happened to you," when these 3 signs have happened, "do whatever your circumstances require, because God is with you." That's a really bad translation. Just read these words. Let me read you what it says. "Once these signs are fulfilled, do what your hand finds to do, for God is with you." That's what that says, okay? What is the charge that Samuel is giving to Saul? He's saying something with the "do what your hand finds to do." What is he saying? It's subtle. The key to that is back in verse 5, okay? So let's go back. "After that, you will come to Gibeah of God, where there are Philistine garrisons," where there's a Philistine fort, okay? Gibeah is Saul's hometown. He doesn't need a geography lesson. He doesn't need, the gas station on the corner over there, like, the Philistine fort. He knows there's Philistine garrisons there. Why does Samuel need to say it, and why does he say it like that altogether? Okay? Gibeah is the Hebrew word for hill. Hill of God. Why is there a Philistine outpost on the hill of God? Does that strike you as inappropriate? The original readers would have gone, oh, that ain't right. The fact that he mentions it here is to just highlight the wrongness of the situation. Okay? God and Philistines don't mix. Okay? The obvious hint here, based on Saul's purpose as king that we've read twice, is that he should attack the Philistines. You're going to see these signs when you come to your hometown where the fort is. Dude, you should do whatever your hand finds to do, bro. You should do what the circumstances require. You should attack the Philistines. I just told you a bunch of times that's your purpose. Do you see that? Does that make sense? Verse 8, then after you do what your hand finds to do, wink, wink, go ahead of me to Gilgal. I will come to you to offer burnt offerings and to sacrifice fellowship offerings. Interesting. Wait 7 days until I come to you and show you what to do. This verse only makes sense, man, if he's supposed to attack the Philistines. Like, after you attack the Philistines, meet me in Gilgal. I'm going to make some sacrifices. We're going to get our consecration on for war. And then we're going to ask God to tell us how we go about continuing this attack. You see that? Do you see what I'm saying? This is what this is about. It only makes sense if what Saul's hand finds to do is attack the Philistines. Okay? Otherwise, dude, we're just reading this and it's like French and we have no idea what they're talking about. I'm trying to help us with the story. Verse 9. When Saul turned to leave Samuel, God changed his heart. It literally says, when Saul turned to leave Samuel, God turned to Saul another heart. And all the signs came about that day. The first two signs are assumed, and then the third one is stated explicitly. Verse 10. When Saul and his servant arrived at Gibeah Hill, a group of prophets met him. Then the Spirit of God came powerfully on him, and he prophesied along with them. Everyone who knew him previously, it's his hometown, right? Saw him prophesy with the prophets and asked each other, dude, what's happened to the son of Kish? Is Saul also among the prophets? He's only been gone 5 days. What is happening? Then a man who was from there, maybe he's known Saul all his life, and who was their father. As a result, is Saul also among the prophets became a popular saying as he rose, as he became king, right? I mean, this reveals even more about who Saul is and even his perceived character to others. They are kind of shocked that he's prophesying like this, that he's maybe even interested in the things of God. He obviously he's not super aware of the way that the prophets work, right? Do you see that? We're revealing more of his character, even his perceived character, his reputation. Then Saul finished prophesying and went to the high place, or he went home. Saul's uncle asked him and his servant, where'd you go? To look for the donkeys, Saul answered. When we saw they weren't there, we went to Samuel. Oh, tell me, dude, you talked to the prophet? Saul's uncle asked. What did Samuel say? What would you think that Saul would tell him that he said? Saul told him, he assured us the donkeys had been found. However, Saul did not tell him what Samuel had said about the matter of kingship. Saul finishes prophesying. What does he do? Does he attack the Philistine outpost? Does he do what his circumstances require? No. He either goes to the high place or he goes home, however you translate it. Either way, he doesn't obey. He doesn't obey the first charge. Then, do you read anything in here about going to Gilgal? No. He doesn't listen. He's either afraid or ignorant, or he's got stuff shoved in his ears. Like he just doesn't listen, you know? I'm reminded of this, like as a dad, you know, like you feel like you're saying the same thing like 1,000 times sometimes, like to your kid before they hear you. But God is always, there's always this whisper to me like, that's how I am with you. I have to tell you 1,000 times before you obey me. And I'm like, you're right. Be patient. Extend grace. This isn't about me. This is about Saul, right? He doesn't listen. Is he a coward? I don't know. He might just be like really obtuse and sort of just dense. He like looks good, you know, but like there's some things I could say, but they could be offensive. You know how it is, like Ken, you know? Sorry, I have a daughter. She doesn't play with Barbies anymore though. He gives up easily, you know? When the prophet tells him something, the prophet of the Lord, Samuel, he argues with him. Nope, that can't be right. You can't be right, bro. What? So what do we take away from this thing, right? What is this passage about for us today? Okay? Don't be like Saul. Saul doesn't listen. You should listen. We're going to make it like moralistic. Is that what it's about? Which is easy to do with all this Saul stuff. I mean, he's just full of nuggets. I mean, some of us do need to start listening better. I do. I mean, I am not a good listener, y'all. God will tell me something and it will take me years to obey. For some of us, he's been talking to us for a long time. And we just can't hear it. For some of us, it's refusing to listen to the calling that he has on our life. Maybe the new calling to new life that he might be inviting you in today. Some of us know the truth. We are Christians, but we still have a hard time listening. We have a hard time when he says, you have a new heart. You have a new status. You have a new calling. I have a new purpose for you. I love you. I'm near to you. I see you. I'm working in your life. I want to be with you. We're not listening. We can't receive it. We're walking it. We can't really believe that God, really loves us, right? I have done too much. There's no way he can really forgive me for all that stuff. There's no way he can really change this heart. There's no way I can really be free of these things. But let me tell you, if God says it, it's true. What he says is way more true than what I feel. It's just coming under his authority. It's me going, hey, I have my feelings and I have my doubts and I have my worries and I have my fears. But you know what? You're king. And I'm going to say, yes, sir. What you say about me is true. Give me the grace to walk in this. But that's not what this passage is about. This passage is introducing us to the king that Israel is asking for. That's what this is about. They needed a king to be like all the other nations because God was not good enough to be their king. Nope, we don't want you. We need our own king so we can be like everyone else. But, guys, whether we submit to it or not, he is king. And he's a good king. He's the best king. He's the king of all kings. He turns the hearts of kings left and right so that he can accomplish his will. And he didn't come ruling and reigning and revealing himself like you would think that a king would, like a king that we would want would come, conquering. He came as a baby. The one who created everything became a created being willingly. He entered time and space to save us from the hand of our enemies, to conquer the enemies of sin and death and the devil and the punishment that we deserve. How did he do it? He didn't do it like you would think that a king would do it. He did it on a cross, man. He let himself be arrested. He let himself be betrayed. He let himself be beaten and mocked and spit upon and whipped and crucified. And he said, "Forgive them. They don't know what they're doing." Is that how you would think the king of the universe would come and conquer evil? It's unreal, man. When he was raised on that third day, God said, "This is the proof. This is the one. There is a hope beyond this life of sin and death and pain and dark and the devil." And guys, we don't see it in its full culmination yet, but it is finished. When he rose from the dead, he proved that there is hope beyond this life. And all we do is confess with our mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe that God raised him from the dead, and we will be saved and we will be there forever. Away from all this sin and all these enemies, all this death, all this pain, all this brokenness. Are you listening? Do you believe that? I need to hear it every day. What is he saying to you today? How is he speaking? Will you listen? How will we respond? Let's pray.